Google Street View cars have caught many strange sights during their attempts to document the world. From folks caught taking a whiz and handing over weapons, to weird aliens, and also this delightful image of a woman helping to protect the modesty of a gentleman who seems to have misplaced his pants. But some of the things Google Street cars have discovered are far from amusing, including murder, kidnapping, and the paranormal. So, let's take a look at these unsettling images as we investigate the 7 creepiest images captured on Google Street View. At 7, the Haunted Hotel. This shot of a hotel in the UK city of Liverpool may look ordinary at first, but when you zoom in to one of the windows, what the heck is that thing? I know the residents of Liverpool are supposed to be freaky-looking inbred hicks who'll steal your wallet before you notice your pants are gone. But this doesn't even look human. The building in the photo is the Stewart Hotel. And interestingly, this is a place which has been haunted by paranormal activity for over a century. Odd noises and apparitions have both been reported here by workers and residents alike. So, has Google finally confirmed the presence of ghosts and demons? Who knows? But I don't really want to find out, especially as it means having to visit Liverpool. At 6, getting funky into trunky. What do you like to get up to on the weekend? Fishing? The movies? Some kind of ball-based sport activity? I don't really care. Because whatever it is, it's certainly not as interesting as what this German guy does with his spare time. Shot in Mannheim, southwestern Germany, this image shows a naked man having a little alone time in the trunk of his Mercedes. I always knew Merc owners were freaks, but this takes the biscuit. And speaking of biscuits, that poor dog will need a whole lot of treats to compensate for having to watch whatever the heck is going on here. What do you think, folks? Was he climbing in? Was he climbing out? And what was he going to do when the trunk was closed? At 5, the home with a secret. If you go ahead and browse the images taken on Seymour Avenue in Tremont, Cleveland, you'll notice everything looks pretty average until you see one house has been completely blurred out. But why is that? Let's find out by taking a look at the old image before Google smeared their secretive greasy paws all over it. This is the home of Ariel Castro, and for a decade, it was a prison shared with Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina De Jesus. Castro kidnapped the 3 women sometime between 2002 and 2004 and repeatedly raped them over 10 years with his neighbors none the wiser as to what was going on. The blurred picture was actually taken in 2009 when all 3 women would still have been trapped inside. The girls were freed in 2013 when Amanda Berry escaped and notified the authorities. Since Ariel Castro's arrest, the property has been demolished, and Castro later hung himself shortly after arriving in prison. Irony, as the man who imprisoned 3 women for a decade of their lives in a small house couldn't even handle a single month in a big one. At 4, Google Gangsters. Here's a lovely image from Detroit, Michigan, of a few tough guys stood on a porch. See that blurry patch over the lead guy's torso? No, it's not because his member is poking out the top of his shorts. It's because this guy is pointing a loaded gun at the Google streetcar. Oh, and what's worse is that this bunch of wannabe tough guy gangbangers are stood outside a home where a 1-year-old baby was later found dead in 2012. The girl's body was found inside a closet inside her grandmother's house, and so far nobody has been charged in relation to this case. Were any of these gun-toting jerks responsible? Who knows? But what I am sure of, you couldn't pay me enough to work as a Google streetcar driver, especially if I had the kind of eerie regret our next driver must have had. At 3, caught before the cops. So after that image of Ariel Castro's kidnap lair, you might be suspicious of any pictures we show that seem a little too innocent. And with this Google street shot of a hard-working American worker driving through a sleepy rural village lined with trees, you'd be right to question such an assumption. This truck belongs to Israel Keys, and Google Street View captured him in 2011, a full year before the police managed to arrest him for a litany of horrific crimes, including rape, arson, murder, and the dismemberment of his victims' corpses. Keys has been confirmed as murdering 3 people with a further 8 suspected cases going back to the mid-90s. But since Keys committed suicide in 2012 while awaiting trial for the murder of Samantha Koenig, we've been unable to ascertain exactly how many people he's killed. Keys was known to murder his victims well away from where he lived because even psycho criminals don't poop on their own doorstep. But even knowing this fact about him, I'm still looking at that picture and wondering, what could there be under that tarp? At 2, the lifeless girl. This shot was taken in the UK by a Google streetcar of Worcester Middle Road, and it appears to show a young girl who has either been struck by a car, punched to the ground, or who's just really interested in getting a close-up view of some asphalt. This image went viral back in 2010, and the internet's finest inquisitive minds stopped trolling suicidal teens for a second and instead set about trying to investigate what terrible fate befell this poor child. It later transpired that the kid in question was 10-year-old Azura Bibijan, and thankfully she was just playing dead, for fun, with nobody around her to join in, as you do. She had no idea the Google car was passing by to catch her in the act, and claims it was merely a bit of fun, with Azura quoted as saying, "Quite chuffed I'm on the internet. It is quite funny and I can't wait to tell my classmates when I go back to school." Yeah, that's all well and good. But did she even consider those random internet detectives and how much of their precious time she's wasted? For shame, Azura. For shame. And at number 1, the second home with a secret. Uh-oh, it's innocent-looking house time again. Have we got another kidnapped victim on our hands? Yes, we do. This first shot was taken by Google Street View in 2007, and inside you'd have found Nancy and Philip Garrido, and their captive victim. 16 years earlier, they had kidnapped 11-year-old J.C. Dugard from an area south of Lake Tahoe, and over the next decade and a half, they would expose this poor girl to some of the most horrific sexual acts imaginable. Philip Garrido told young J.C. that demon angels had allowed him to take her, and that she was there to cure him of his sexual problems. A warped mentality, which later led Garrido to impregnating J.C. when she was only 13. The tragic thing about this 2007 photograph is that J.C. was still inside the home when it was taken, and would be for another 2 years. These images even show Philip Garrido leaving the home and tailing the Google Street View van. J.C. Dugard was thankfully freed in 2009, and Philip and Nancy Garrido were sentenced to 431 years and 36 years, respectively. But this case, and the other 2 on this list involving kidnaps and murderers, they just make you wonder, what else Google cars have passed without knowing? Who else is out there being kept hidden from the world? And what awful crimes has the Google streetcar seen that nobody has yet come to notice? So, that's our list. And if you're interested in seeing more creepy and weird Google images, then take a look at our video of 7 freaky Google Earth mysteries. Because let's face it, it's going to be more fun than looking up what your house looks like from the sky for the zillionth time ever.